It's been a hero's journey for Ferguson this season. A spate of second places was coupled with the low point of a DNF, but then it was all followed by his first win of the season at the Nürburgring. But that non-finish may come back to haunt him, with Hervias trailing by a mere 2 points. Road America could be a toss-up with its notorious draft battles. Let's see who comes out ahead as we get ready to watch round 6 of the PRL GT3 series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road America is among the most popular circuits on iRacing. Let's head to our track guide to find out why. Welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. While many oval fans associate this Central Florida track with mainly NASCAR, the road course has gained just as much worldwide fame thanks to it hosting. Welcome to Circuit of the Americas. The cliche of everything's bigger in Texas rings true for this track in the Lone Star State. Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But two of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why. Well, DJ, this is one that should give us a lot of excitement. It rarely disappoints.
You're very right, Joe. This is a track, obviously, that has pretty much been in its current form all the way back since 1955, so it is very, very well known by drivers and fans alike. Now, in these GT3 cars, we're going to have the same areas of contention that we have no matter who is racing here. You're going to be looking for those big draft trains that we always talk about going down that long main straightaway and then off of turn 3, down the moraine sweep and into that left-handed turn 5. The danger zones are always going to be the same as well, especially in the heavier GT cars. The hurry downs and the sections through really turn 6 all the way up to the carousel. Very, very tricky. It's a lot about rhythm. It is so specific to get right. And then the big thing that we always talk about here, Joe, the kink. Now, I took some time out in these GT3s earlier today and was running it, and you can take the kink just about flat out, maybe about a 5% liftoff to be able to get through there. But you've got to be very, very careful, and rest assured that following in the wake of another car, that's going to change things a lot, and it may be very indicative to see what kind of downforce levels these guys are running. So that'll be something for us to check out as the race develops.
Certainly should be exciting, especially that first lap trying to fly through there. But today's race is brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
The PRL GT3 series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. As we take a glance at the Drivers' Championship, of course, up at the top of it, it is Daniel Ferguson leading by a mere 2 points. Remember, I mentioned that DNF, and that's what is keeping it so close with Tyler back there. And then it's not too far back to Lewis Goodway, but he's only got one win himself in the season. The last time that game was in the first round. Braden Warner is tied for the fourth spot with William Laster, and then Diego Morales rounds out your top five, just a point behind them. What about the AM Championship here, DJ?
Well, it is very close at the top between Barry Cochran and Neil Alexander, only 3 points separating the two drivers. There's a bit of a jump back to Kyle Colbert, and that really is because that Cochran and Alexander are the only out of these top fives to have points counted in all races thus far. Colbert, LeBlanc, and Semkowicz all have either had a do not start or a did not finish, but that battle for third between LeBlanc and Colbert, very, very tight, and Semkowicz very close as well, only 4 points back of third.
And of course, we also have our team's championship, and that one is basically the Parabola Racing and Pure Sims show. This is essentially the Mercedes and Red Bull of the GT3 series have been dominating everything up here, but you can see that Parabola Racing Cobalt has a handy gap to those behind who are all pretty clumped together in a battle for second between the Azure team, the Pure Sims Esports, and the Free M team. And then you get another jump back to Parabola Midnight, who round out our top five. DJ, real quick, why don't you run us through the race details?
Well, Joe, we are here at Road America for what will be the 6 of 10 rounds. Obviously racing the GT3 car, so a big selection for everybody to choose from. McLaren, Ford, Beamer, Mercedes, Audi, Ferrari, Lamborghini, and pretty much just about every one of those out on track. It's going to be a 40-minute race here today, so a little bit quicker than we have seen in years past. Drivers currently out on track for a 10-minute, 4-lap solo qualifying session. It is open setup like I talked about, so it's going to be very interesting to see who's able to gain a little bit more time through the hurry downs, through the twisty sections, because they're running a higher downforce setup, and who decides to trim out and is very fast down the straights. Now, this is something to keep in mind. You get a drive-through penalty at 11 incidents. That's really not much, and there is plenty of room to run wide and pick up a 1X here at Road America, so drivers will have to be careful for that. And as always, bonus points are available. Good to keep in mind with as close as everybody is for fastest lap, pole, and 3 incidents or less.
For that pole position right now, it belongs to Ferguson, who's already claimed 3 of the 5, but he's only put a single lap in, so there's still time for others around him to try and overtake, and it's about a 10th between himself and his championship rival, Hervias, as he crosses the line, and he does go quicker to a 2:03.8. Not too shocking because it's pretty similar to what we saw in warm-up here, DJ, with 3 Lambos up at the top.
Yeah, Lamborghini really seems to have everything locked down here. As you just saw Morales coming across the line, he is currently the highest placed Mercedes right now. Here comes LeBlanc, very tight in that AM Championship like we talked about, not able to improve. Same there with Drew DeWeese.
Werner is up next. He's sitting on third. Can he get on the front row? Only has to make up about 3/100ths of a second. He had an off track. That one's not going to count, unfortunately. So he'll have to cycle around for another 2 tries. Up next, we've got Neil Alexander here. And it looks like the 2.76 does not improve on his third lap. He's all the way down to 19th. We're waiting on a few quick ones to put a competitive time in. Michael Davies and Mike Richter among them. But Lewis Goodway just popped one on the board finally, and that gets him into 4th.
Exactly. Here comes Kwok Nin coming to the line. Let's see if he is able to improve. He is by about a half a second there. That'll bump him up to 14th. And Davies in particular, want to see him put a lap down. He was very, very quick during qualifying, so he's one to watch out for.
Oh, and we ran out of time. Even we weren't watching close enough. So that is going to be it for our qualifying. I don't think anybody got all 4 laps in. It takes a while to get around. So our starting order is set. Let's run through that. On the pole with his 4th out of 6 rounds, Daniel Ferguson ahead of Tyler Hervias, with Braden Werner starting in 3rd. Lewis Goodway starts 4th today. Diego Morales will be P5, and J.R. Williams is in 6th. And it's Julio Palacio starting 7th. On his outside, it's Gonzalo Cortez. Next row has Jean-Marc Tremblay in 9th and David Menino in 10th.
Lining up in 11th is going to be Andre Espinosa, followed by Brian Vorse behind them. In 13th will be Spencer Semkowicz, followed by Kwok Nin in 14th. Matt Hilton is going to be 15th, followed by Christopher Rhines in 16th, with Barry Cochran lining up 17th and David Morse to his outside in 18th. And then to round out your top 20, it's going to be James LeBlond and Neil Alexander.
Drew DeWeese and Jordan Walker are the last 2 to set a qualifying time. From then on down, you've got Michael Davies. This is going to be a long race for him. Kenny Rodriguez, Brian Hotham, Matthew Aubrey, Mike Richter, and Corey Ramsey. 28 cars out here, so not the largest field that we've seen, especially for these GT3s, which tend to be quite popular themselves, but still should give us plenty of good racing. Now, we heard the race stewards talking to the drivers before the race a little bit about getting these tires heated up, and if we look at the temperatures, DJ, you and I were even remarking, it's a little cool on the track.
It very much is, and it's only about 9:05 virtual standard time, that track temperature at 76 degrees Fahrenheit. So that is going to be very, very chilly. I expect a little bit of warmth to start to get into that track as we go along in the session. But drivers are going to have to be very, very careful. Joe, you and I were talking off air about how this new tire model, it really is difficult to when the tires are not up to temperature. It's not exactly like you're skating on ice. It's just like the car is loose as all get out and very, very hard to control coming around a very fast corner like turn 1 here.
Certainly, as they start to take off on the pace lap. Again, we'll get 40 minutes of racing here today for the drivers to compete. Now, Ferguson's story about the way he's reached the top spot in the championship points really is fascinating, because it's not just that he made 2nd place 3 times in a row in the first 3 races, but all 3 of those 2nd places were roughly 0.3 of a second or less behind the leader. So it was achingly close. So for him to suddenly DNF and then win, it's showed a change in fortune, a change in his approach maybe even. We'll have to ask him about that if that did alter from the first 3 rounds. But the question is, will he start to revert back to that? Will Hervias maybe try and fight back, take another win? Or will Ferguson be able to keep this up and snag himself a 2nd win?
Well, it'll be very interesting to watch, and this is really a lot of where it comes down to racers' mentality. You know, you're in those top positions, you want to be fighting for the win, but as we now are over the halfway point in the season, you have to start thinking about the championship and quieting that little racer's instinct that says must win at all costs. And if I'm Ferguson at this track, I am definitely thinking, you know what, a 2nd place is okay. It's much better than me risking an absolute DNF to go for a win.
Now, we have one on board today. The 12th place starter, Brian Vorse, is going to give us a view. And as we check in on him, don't think he's going to be using that handbrake a whole lot, but expect that shifter to certainly get a workout along this track with many heavy braking zones and long straights to run through the gears. So hopefully we'll get some more chances to check in with the 33 as this progresses and see how he fares today. Also, in regards to the AM race, I'm not sure if we mentioned it, but Spencer Semkowicz is our highest AM qualifier currently, so he's going to be starting quite well. And I do want to make a note of this. Kwok Nin has qualified the highest I think we've ever seen him qualify, and it's 2nd and the AM class. This is very good for the 239.
Very much so, Joe, and I was actually thinking the same thing. It's a very, very good performance from him. Unless I'm mistaken, we're used to seeing him normally race around in the Ford, making the change over here to the Mercedes today, so maybe that is helping the Parabola driver get a little further up the field.
That could be. We'll have to see if maybe we can get a little bit of a chat with him after the race and find out if anything else has changed that has promoted him so far up the order compared to where he usually runs. So we come down towards Canada Corner now. You know, I'm kind of curious too, as the sun starts to rise. One thing that iRacing does model, DJ, is those shadows do make the track cooler, and I wonder if it goes above the trees, if they'll find the braking get very long down into that corner by the end of the race.
It's certainly a possibility, and the other thing to keep in mind with that is the glare on the sun and those shadows themselves. It can throw off your perception ever so slightly, so drivers are going to have to be very, very vigilant going into the always tricky Canada Corner.
All right, pace car is getting ready to peel off, and Ferguson's going to have control. Does he wait as long as possible? No, he's going to go quickly. The green flag is out for the 676, but Hervias is on him with a great start. He's already pulling a toe. This might have been way too soon for Daniel Ferguson as they head towards the first corner. And no, it looks like that Lambo behind him is not going to attack, but we got a change for third potentially as Lewis Goodway almost squeezes his rival off, just gives enough space to Werner.
Definitely a little bit of contact there with Morales looking on the inside. They continue to go side by side, though. They're through turn 3 again. A little bit of a pinch, but that Lamborghini of Werner and the Mercedes of Goodway duking it out. Now Goodway slots back into line, picks up that draft down the long Moraine sweep.
Incredible trust between rivals. He barely gave him enough space on the exit of both corners as Werner breaks a little bit deeper down into 5. Goodway might have the over-under. In fact, he does. Once again, third might switch around as that orange and white Merc holds the apex but can't complete the pass.
So much for drivers taking it easy on cold tires. These guys absolutely going at it here. Werner continues to hold on, really making a train behind us. Here comes Goodway again, diving down to the inside. That is turn 8. That's such a tricky corner. Oh, Werner off into the kitty litter a little bit. That's going to allow Morales and Goodway by.
Oh, down to 5th. It was a valiant effort, but the 329 just could not hold off those two cars, those two Mercs that were challenging him at literally every corner. What this has done is given a huge gap to first and second. Ferguson and Hervias are already a second and a half down the road.
Yeah, and now Lewis Goodway's really going to have to push well. And remember, his teammate Morales is right behind him, so they may be able to play a little bit of a game like a leapfrog when they get onto these long straights.
That was J.R. Williams, and I think Gonzalez maybe gave him a little bit of help. I heard an apology over the radio. Let's take a look at it. Gonzalo Cortez, I think. Yeah, the 16 is going to give him a big shove. You can even see the back of the car go up in the air a little bit, so definite contact. Also had an incident, we don't need to go to it, but Spencer Simkovich spun at the exit of the last corner. Up at the front, Ferguson holds Hervias at bay by about 0.8 of a second.
And that's still going to be in effective draft range, but we're going to check back in on that battle we were following for pretty much most of that first lap. This is Goodway, Morales, and Werner still running relatively line astern here. All three cars taking a little bit of the dirt on the outside there.
The SimMSA cars definitely have the bit between their teeth as we hop on board. Watching from Werner here in the 329, who got overtaken by them in the first lap. Looks like Simkovich is going to come in for repairs. And I don't see Kenny Rodriguez out on track. I'm not sure what was the deal with that, but everybody else still running.
Indeed, riding on board here with Werner as they make their way through the hurry downs. This is that very technical, twisty part of the track like I talked about. It's a very, very rhythmic section. It almost acts like a street circuit in the just sort of 90 degree corners, but very, very satisfying to get right. Looks like there that Werner was able to get a run. He's going to try to make a move on the inside of the carousel.
He's got the inside, but can he keep it? No. On the exit, he finally has to give way. Morales now on the opposite end of things, having to deal with the pressure from behind. Werner doesn't get the best run coming out of the kink. Doesn't look like he's going to be in play.
No, Joe, he definitely had to feather the throttle a little bit coming through the kink. Just didn't have the downforce on the front end of that Lamborghini to keep it going. But now he's going to be able to attack again. They come up through Bill Mitchell Bend and through this final corner. If he can carry speed here, I think he may be able to get a good run on Morales down the straight.
This is Lambo versus Merc, but it doesn't look like the Lambo's really going to get the best of exits. Let's see how powerful the draft is before we step away from this, as it's about half a second and it's starting to come down, so he is feeling a little bit of that, but looks like it's certainly not enough from that far behind. In the meantime, let's go over to our AM leader, because as we mentioned, Simkovic had a spin. So who is leading now? The 239 of Quoc Ninh.
Very, very good run for him. He is up 2 places from his starting position of 14th into 13th, following behind Rhines right now, just very slowly trying to figure out where he can go on this. Doing a great job. He's currently got a big gap over the second place AM driver of Matt Hilton.
And in front of them, whoa, there's a big moment between Vorse and Espinoza. Andre is blinking a whole lot, and Brian was on the radio complaining about it. He actually ghosted into the car there coming into the braking zone. Thankfully, that did not create an accident, but that's exactly why drivers don't like blinkers.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. There is nothing more terrifying when you are behind the wheel of a sim car like this, when you see that driver suddenly disappear and you know you've got speed. You're just waiting for them to come in. There you see Brian, though, working his way around. Amazing. With that long, elongated monitor, you can see where his head's going, looking all the way through the carousel there, that long right-hander.
And he can't really check up too much for Espinoza, especially if he's uncertain about where he is, because Cortez, who we saw get into an incident earlier, is the one challenging him. This is where it happened on that first lap. Thankfully, Gonzalo has picked out the braking point. And I think we had an incident with J.R. Williams. Yeah, Williams, unfortunately, running into poor Drew DeWeese, who spun in front of him. In fact, this collected, wow, a bunch of cars. This starts with the 523. You're going to see him start to get loose, and, I mean, he's trying to catch it. Unfortunately, his attempts took him right back onto the track, and all the people trying to scatter are the ones that come out the worst for it.
And he does the right thing there. DeWeese does, just holds the brakes as much as he can. I think he may have lifted off there a little bit, but oh, you can see the carnage, spinning cars. Williams the first to be hit, but Walker hit as well.
Williams, DeWeese, and Walker all in pit lane taking repairs. I think they all had to take tows, unfortunately. So we're seeing a little bit of attrition, but we've got a lot of racing left, still 32 minutes on the clock. Going back to Brian Vorse. Oh, and he's side by side.
Side by side, that is Espinoza there. Oh, a little bit of a ghost contact. He's able to get through it. It looks like now Vorse checks up a little bit. May have gotten a little bit of a touch in the back there from Gonzalo Cortez. Is this battle absolutely insane? They were running in a diagonal fashion down the Moraine sweep. Just a great 3-car battle.
Let's take another look at this. Cortez got very lucky. If he was any farther up alongside Vorse, he probably would have turned him right in front of him. Look at that. Nearly 3 wide. Then tries to poke his nose in. But credit to Vorse, and incredible on the brakes. Stays with it around the outside, and there's the ghost contact.
Yeah, and looks like both drivers were able to escape without too much damage to the car. There may be a little bit on Vorse's car, but it doesn't look anything significant. Now they're coming down into Canada corner. Cortez very close behind Vorse in that Ferrari. Looks like he is really trying to put some pressure on here.
Coming for the longest straightaway here. Everybody trying to nail the exit out of the final turn. And it seemed like Vorse has usually got something, but not this time. He has a very poor exit, and Cortez might have a nice, easy pass. Let's see. Did they get much damage? Remember, he hit him with the front, so he might not be as quick in a straight line. He's going to poke his nose out. From here, the Ferrari looks okay, and that looks like maybe a little bit of facilitation. No, it is Brian Vorse pulling the over-under and getting right back past him.
Beautiful defense there from Brian Vorse, just letting Cortez run wide there, kind of giving him just enough rope to go and being able to take that place back. Very, very good. And now he was able to get a pretty good exit there out of turn 3. I think that's going to be enough to hold Cortez behind him going down into turn 5. But let's see if Cortez decides to be very late on the brakes. No, he's going to stay right in line.
Still looks like he's got pretty good speed. He's already closed that right back down in a hurry. So Cortez might run out of patience here soon with him seemingly plugged up behind those leaders. Oh no, and Kwok Nin, our AM leader, has wrecked. This is out of turn 5. I think this is a single car incident. That's going to hand over the AM lead to Hilton, and Kwok now in 5th in his class.
And this is very easy to do here. You see him getting a little bit racy, trying to challenge some of those pro drivers up ahead of him in the BMW. Comes in, gets a little wide there on the entrance, just carries a little bit too much speed. Oh, that's hard into the barriers for Kwok Nin. That's going to be pretty much his race over, I think.
The hood comes unhinged, and that's going to hurt his top end speed, no doubt. So we come back to the battle for 9th place here, Vorse and Cortez finally gets it done down into Canada corner.
May have been a little bit of a hip check there from Cortez, getting a little bit frustrated, stuck behind Vorse like that, but he is now on the way through and up into that 10th place position.
These drivers, we have to remember, do not have a spare car. So they've got to deal with whatever damage they've got. And the reason I bring that up is because it looks like Kwok Nin is limping around, and he might be within the pit window, but I think he's going to wind up well down the order. Meanwhile, this is a fantastic fight that we've been continuing to follow. Vorse now with the shoe on the other foot. Can he try and fight back on that Ferrari? He comes off the turn 3 exit with a great bit of speed, and he actually might be able to be passed by the braking for 5.
He very well may indeed, but these boys got to be careful here because that is the orange and white of Michael Davies behind them. But Vorse very far over on the brakes. He's going to try to sell that crossover move again. Ooh, good speed there. He's going to be on the inside. Position up for the Corvette bridge into turn 6. Gets it done, slides it through, runs Espinosa just a hair wide, forced back up into that 10th place position for the moment.
I don't know what Vorse had for breakfast this morning, but he has definitely got some verve in him right now. Just great battling between himself and Cortez. But you're right, Michael Davies, who we understand was having some connection issues, looks like he got those sorted out, but that's why he didn't qualify, and he's charging up the field.
Yeah, up 11 positions from where he started out, but we're going to ride on board with him here as he pilots his Mercedes around. Now, let's see if Cortez has that same move going into Canada corner that he did last time. Looks like he's a little bit farther back. It's going to be harder to make the move here, and indeed doesn't go for it. But whoa, look how good on the brakes Davies is there. Little bit off the apex, but still able to gain a lot of time. I would be very scared if I was Cortez or Vorse, knowing that the number 75 is coming up behind.
Yeah, the multiple race winner, Michael Davies, you kind of expected him to try and make up for that lack of qualifying, but maybe trying a little too hard, at least at this stage in the race. And Cortez has got a very good run, and Vorse knows it. He is going all the way down to the inside as they come to the braking. Does he dare? No, he does not.
Very, very cagey defense there from Vorse, keeping everything at bay.
Down into turn 3. This is where Vorse got the run last time. Oh, and second place has swapped around. Lewis Goodway has caught and passed Hervias.
Has indeed, just that textbook draft pass down the marine sweep. Really, really good job. Jump back here to check out the replay.
This is getting fascinating now, because we've now got a Pure Sims Esports leader and a SimMSA Esports Black second place. And this is not just a fight between drivers, but teams as well, close in the championship.
Very much so, but I've got to say, with as quickly as Goodway was able to close down that gap on Hervias, I would be very, very concerned right now if I was Ferguson out in the lead. I think that orange and white Mercedes of Lewis Goodway has got some mega speed under its wheels.
One thing that's also kind of bubbling up back behind them is two of their teammates, Morales and Werner. This is for 4th place, so just off the podium. Diego Morales is the orange and white Merc that you see. The black and white Lamborghini is Braden Werner, who started this race in 3rd, slipped down to 5th. Didn't seem to really have much at the start, lost a few positions from those SimMSA cars, and now is trying to make up for it.
Yeah, trying to get the good run off the corner there. Good job getting around that final corner. It was Braden Warner, both drivers getting a very, very good exit here as they make their way up onto the main start-finish straight.
Not sure if this is going to erupt, but I can tell you that Cortez managed to get a better exit than Vorse, and those two are side by side. We might be 3 wide, because look at this. Here comes Michael Davies. I don't think he's got enough width of track, though. In fact, yeah, he is blocked out. So he backs out of it with the inside. Is this going to favor Cortez? Just barely. Vorse can't carry the speed, the momentum off of turn 1. He'll be on the outside of 3 as well. He's going to try it again, though. Just whip around the outside, and this time it works.
But watch out for Davies. He was able to sit back on that and get the better line. He tucks up behind his Mercedes compatriot there of Brian Vorse. Now that's going to help that's going to help rather Davies by. Does he try anything going down into turn 5? Yes, he's going to go for the double overtake. Can he get it? They're side by side. No contact. Amazing battle.
There was the tiniest of touches, but Vorse held on to it. Davies doesn't dare do it again. Down into 6. He'll hold back in 11th. Can we get a replay of that moment?
I'm not sure if my voice can take watching that again, Joe. This is just fantastic GT battles. Look at the heads up here from Davies. He thought about shooting the gap, then realized where it was, and we said it before, so late on the brakes. Yeah, you're right, just a little bit of contact right front to left rear there, but Vorse able to hold it out for now.
Whew. Well, Davies is certainly giving us a lot of fun to watch, even if he might not get the result that he may have wanted today. He's just about into the top 10 if he can get by Vorse. And if I'm honest, this looks more like a matter of time rather than an if.
I have to agree with you there, Joe. Michael Davies just looks like he has got an absolute monster underneath him today. Looks like he's fallen back a little bit there through Canada corner. They go through Bill Mitchell Bend and into that last corner onto the straight. Let's see if he's able to get a good run over that white number 33.
Ooh, he's definitely got a good run. He's already reeling him in, and they're barely halfway up the straight. But does he have enough speed? Vorse, once again, is taking it all the way down to the wall, but now he opens it up, and Davies has the gap if he wants it. Can't shut the door. There's a Merc there as they swing through turn 1. Vorse, once again, showing how to hang around the outside. He'll have to do it a second time again. And are they going to make contact? Not this time, but it's a drag race, and Brian Vorse has got not only the inside to 5, but more speed.
He does, and look at this. Gonzalo Cortez wants some of the action as well. He's got to check up ever so slightly with nowhere to go. Vorse runs into a little bit of the grass now, cuts in front of Davies. Davies delays that move. Oh, and there's contact. Oh, Davies off into the corner, and that's Vorse able to continue on.
That was bizarre. Davies almost looked like he started losing it even before any sort of contact with anybody. Let's take another look.
I think he got a little too far onto the right there, Joe. Maybe thinking he was going to try to shoot the gap and was trying to angle that. This is just slightly bizarre.
Yeah, he touched the dirt, and it just unfortunately sent him into both cars, but both of them able to keep going. It just forced Brian Vorst to go way out wide to try and avoid getting more damage. Davies continues in 12th. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, it does look that Davies does have some damage there to that car, specifically on the left-hand side of it. So hopefully he'll be able to continue on without too much loss of speed.
Really wild moment, wild couple of laps between them. Up ahead of it all, Daniel Ferguson. It seems like he's going to continue the trend with the way things are going. Has the fastest lap of the race, has 3.2 seconds over Goodway, 2.45 that time by. Goodway with a 2:04.8.
And Joe, we've had contact between Hervias and Werner going through the corner. Werner just didn't exactly get it gathered up the way he wanted to. This is going into turn 1, pokes his nose to the inside, just couldn't exactly get it wound down enough, and that sends Werner around.
There have been some very ambitious moves in these last couple of laps that we've seen from drivers. I'm not sure what's going on, but it seems like everybody is just trying their darndest to go as deep onto the brakes as possible, and it's not working well for a few of them.
No, it's not. But Joe, interestingly here, we have one of our first pitters, the AM driver in the 711 of Barry Cochran in the pits. This is a scheduled stop, 13 seconds, no tires, only fuel. So Cochran going for a mega undercut here.
All right. Well, ahead of that AM class is still Matt Hilton, who has yet to pit. Cochran is back out 19th overall, looking like he's about 6th of the AM drivers currently. We'll see where that cycles him back in once everybody else takes their stop. Should see them within the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, I have to imagine we would. We normally see that being the effective pit window about 30 minutes into the race. We are over half distance here, so drivers who come in would be able to make it to the end.
As we now pop our nose up to Palacio. This is David Menino just behind him. David has gained about 4 positions, it looks like, from the start of the race. Started in 10th. He's up to P6, looking at a potential 5th gain here with Palacio within his sights.
Yeah, and he was part of a big train of McLarens, including Menino and Tremblay at the start of the race. And it looks like that Palacio was just the one that was able to really escape away with Menino, and these two keeping each other honest here.
Never tire seeing that McLaren just spit fire out the back, as this is a pair of them right now for this 5th position. Watch from on board Menino. See if he can get enough of a toe off of his teammate down the Moraine Sweet. I think he's a little too far back. It's down to about 0.4 of a second. I also see Neil Alexander in the pits, just as a heads up. Another of our AM drivers taking a stop, potentially responding to Cochran, and not close enough at all for David Menino that time through.
No, you saw there on that speed graph, only really able to gain about a mile an hour or so, and when you're about 0.5 of a second back, that's just not enough to get it wound up.
Going to take a look at Cortez, and Vorse is back with him yet again on board with Brian. Watching as that black number 16 leads the way for this time. Will this be for the rest of the race, or is he going to swap positions for the umpteenth time with this Ferrari?
Well, we will have to see. Again, love that we are able to see Brian here. You can see the driver's eyes and how he's looking around that big curved monitor. Really good indication of what a lot of driver coaches will tell you of see through the apex. Look where you want to put the car to be. Good run there through the kink. Not really able to close up as much as I think he would like to behind Cortez, but he's still keeping him honest. The gap holding steady at about 0.7 of a second.
This has been one of the best battles we've watched all race long. I think one we're going to be talking about for the rest of the season, no doubt. As they come onto the main stretch, do either of them decide to duck off into pit lane, or is this all full speed ahead for the pair of them. It's full speed ahead. And I think this is another good enough run for Vorse if he's feeling antsy. If he wants to try and charge his way to the inside of turn 1. He's got it down to 2 car lengths. 1 car length. He pokes his nose, but he has to hit the binders.
Yeah, not really able to gather it all that much under him. It is very difficult to get that pass made into turn 1. It's not a super heavy braking zone. You're really only down into about 3rd gear there, depending on the car. Oh, and that's Cortez around.
That might put paid to that battle now. And that was all on his own doing. In fact, didn't touch the grass. Just car broke away. He comes back and still runs in 11th, so didn't lose anything other than the position to Vorse. Well, I take that back. Davies had better momentum, and he's going to be able to finally get through.
Well, that'll be a relief to him, but Cortez not letting him go that easy. He's able to get a little bit better momentum there on the inside line. They're going to be side by side going into turn 6. Davies is ahead, but he's blocking the preferred apex, and there he is finally able to get it done and get by Cortez.
15 minutes left on the clock now. With that putting paid to that battle a little bit, let's jump back to Palacio and Minino here, up for a top 5 spot. They're actually not too far behind Morales. It's about 0.8 of a second up to the Merc in front of them. As they swing through Canada Corner, this could so easily erupt into a battle of its own, especially if they start to get closer to any sort of lap traffic a little later on.
Indeed, and there you see those Mercs just spitting fire, McLaren spitting fire in unison. Better run there for Menino, it looked like, out of that corner. So is he going to be able to mount a challenge here into turn 1? Definitely closing down on the straight. He's going to be a little far back, I think, as they get into the braking zone.
It looked good, though. Maybe he could finish the job down the Moraine sweep. As one of our first front runners pits, that's Espinoza. Here we are on board, trundling down the lane, looking for his stall.
Very long pit lane here at Road America. Frustratingly long. Believe me, you just are begging for this thing to come faster. But as with all of these drivers, no tires taken today, only fuel. I anticipate around a 12-second stop, and indeed 11.89 stationary in the box for Espinosa.
Back out and on his way. He'll return in 14th place as we once again check in on Palacio. Still half a second ahead of Menino, but for what they gained on Morales, they've already lost. It's 1.1 ahead of that pair.
And you're seeing just what that sort of fighting between yourselves can do. These teammates definitely need to be in communication here and see if they can get anything by to try to catch Morales up ahead of them.
How hard do they race as well? Got to remember that these SRT Esport teammates will probably want to get valuable points here, so they don't want to trip each other up, but still there is that personal pride at stake between them. Wonder if we'll see any of our other lead cars respond to Espinoza. I heard somebody in, looks like that's, I think that's Corey Ramsey. That's one of our back markers.
And our leaders coming in, Ferguson coming into the pits.
Aha. Followed by Goodway, Hervias. So there's our top 3 right there. Is this the end of the pit window? It is a pretty thirsty track, it looks to be, because Morales is in, Palacio, Menino, Tremblay, Werner. Yeah, this looks to be as far as everybody can go.
Yeah, this is the absolute end. Literally everybody choosing to come off here, all the way down to Brian Vorse. All of our leading pack coming on in.
So not expecting too much of a difference between them then. Nobody seems to have gambled on a different strategy except Espinoza. Ferguson's already done, past the cones and accelerating away. He'll easily retake the lead. Goodway easily back in a second. And Hervias in from 3rd, out from 3rd as well. Looks like next one out gonna be Morales. Now, did Morales get, oh no, he was in 4th place. So that hasn't changed around, but Menino's lost out to Tremblay.
He has, but they've gained another dancing partner. Now that fleet of McLarens, like I talked about, it is Palacio, Tremblay, and Menino, all three of them SRT teammates, all of them driving the same car, and they're all on track together.
Down the Moraine sweep towards the braking of 5. That pretty much finishes out our pit stops for everybody. The last car in, James LeBlanc, just hit pit lane himself. So the order that you see is legitimate, and from here everybody who wants a spot has to overtake on the track.
Yeah, exactly, and this has really created a big bunch here from about 5th place on back, 6th place really, with Tremblay, Menino, Warner, and Espinosa, each car about within a second of each other, all 4 of them here. So this could erupt very, very quickly, especially if these 2 SRT teammates of Tremblay and Menino duke it out a little bit. That will pull Warner right up behind him.
Out of the carousel, Menino still haunting him, but he was also doing the same to Palacio and didn't seem to be able to fully attack his other teammate either. Doesn't look like anybody gained an advantage through the kink. Braden Werner all the way down to 8th from his 3rd place starting position. What has happened to this 329? He looks strong under braking, in fact gains a lot as Menino misses the apex. Instead it looks like David might be on defense here.
Exactly, a little bit of a blink there from David Menino as well, but very, very strong from Warner again through that final corner. Let's see if that Lamborghini's got the legs to challenge the flame-spitting McLaren here. They climb the hill. Doesn't look like he's really drawing in all that much, Joe. I wonder if that Lamborghini's running a little bit more downforce.
Could be a difference between the makes of the cars as well. We have to remember they do have slightly different qualities in each brand, but it's not done yet. Werner can still try and attack if he finds himself an opportunity. And poor David Menino has been having his hands full here with the later stages of the race. That one looked good again for the 329.
Yes, it did. Werner now fully tucked up behind the draft to really get a double draft here. Not going to poke his nose out, though. Going into turn 5, takes a little bit of a wider apex run to try to carry some momentum. They now climb back up the hill and under the Corvette bridge into turn 6. He's just got to try to keep it very, very close behind here, but I think he is definitely getting checked up because look how close Espinosa has been able to close in behind Werner.
Yeah, Espinosa won't want to sit around forever either. And this is not a teammate of his in front of him with Werner. So this is full attack from the 87, no doubt, especially if Werner starts to tussle with Menino. Oh, he's very good here through the carousel, reels him back in. Can he get anything into Canada corner? He's going to size him up, look for the great exit out of the kink through the dirty air. Oh, and a spin, off goes Menino, and he's hard into the wall. So that is going to end that fight between that pair, but opens it up for Braden to maybe try and attack Tremblay. Let's take one more look.
And Joe, the first sign of warning here was if you see where those flames spit out of the McLaren, that happens when you are off throttle in that car, and he got off throttle out of the apex after he had cleared the corner, so he knew he had something wrong, and that car can be a little bit unstable. If you're trying to make a lot of turning, you get what's called off throttle oversteer in that car, and I think that's exactly what came out to bite him.
I think you're right. Oh, and unfortunately for Werner, he's not going to be able to attack. He's going to have to defend. Espinosa gets very tight. That's a lapped car off course. That's Corey Ramsey. So the 93 is able to return, but he is now a lap down. Nervous moments for Braden Werner. And he's going to have it all over again. Here goes Espinosa once more.
Trying to size that up, and I can say as we watch this battle that off from Ramsey was a miscommunication with Tyler Hervias. He got into the back of him, both drivers on comms apologizing to each other, bit of a racing incident. But we continue to ride on board here with that Ferrari, seeing what it can do. Not able to get it done through turn 5. Good line through turn 6, though a little bit narrower and a slight little wiggle there up ahead from Werner.
2+ minutes per lap, and we're under 7 to go. This, I think we might be 4 to go because Ferguson's towards the end of this lap right now as we stay on board with Espinosa giving chase around the circuit. Temperatures, by the way, have continued to climb. It's already up to 83 Fahrenheit, and the drivers will hopefully have anticipated that, though the tires aren't quite as sensitive as before. Look at them just take it right out to the edge of the track through the kink.
Well, and that's really what you have to do, Joe. You just gotta try to carry as much speed as you can through there. Looks like down into Canada corner there, I gotta say, Warner looked a little bit better on the brakes than Tremblay in front of him. Now they fly through Bill Mitchell Bend and into this last corner. Very, very good run here from Warner. Can he keep it down through turn 14 and maybe get something happening? He's closer than I've seen in a while.
I can also tell you, I was keeping an eye on Ferguson. He did cross without enough time for 4 laps. It's going to be 3 to go here for our drivers. And this is very tight amongst them. Braden Werner now looking to the outside of Tremblay into turn 1. Tremblay with the defense doesn't lose enough time that he is under threat from the over-under. Werner gains a little bit with a better exit. Tries to poke his nose in way off the apex there for Jean-Marc, and it's going to open up things once more as they pick up pace down to turn 5.
That was a very, very heads-up sequence of corners there from Werner, being very intelligent about trying to get Tremblay offline. Tremblay now throws a little bit of a fade and fades back onto the racing line. Werner goes for a double crossover there, down to the inside, and gets it. What a move!
Shades of Nigel Mansell. Great stuff. Oh, almost contact between Espinosa and Werner there as he nearly outbraked himself into that Lamborghini. But Andre also gets himself into 7th over Jean-Marc Tremblay. 2 positions lost in a hurry.
Very much so, and that's what's going to happen if you're running in a train like this. And so now it is on Tremblay to see if he can catch anything back up here. But look at the gap that Werner is already starting to pull. He's got about 0.5 of a second over Espinosa. Joe, that Lambo has been held up for this race.
That doesn't surprise me too much. I mean, Braden did qualify in 3rd. It just seems something was wrong early on. Maybe didn't like the cold tires, maybe just wasn't in his groove, but whatever the case, he'll at least have recovered to 6th position. Not sure if he can get farther up than that. The leader just crossed the line, now 2 to go.
Yeah, 2 to go, and as we continue to watch Braden Werner, he's got a gap of about 3 seconds up the road to try to take that 5th place away from Julio Palacio. I've got to say, I think it's a little too late right now, but Palacio having him navigate around some lap traffic. That's Matthew Aubrey up ahead of him.
As we keep our eyes back here, because I think Jean-Marc really wants that spot back, but we're still watching the fight for 7th on board with Jean-Marc. Just only 2/10 behind. It was an aggressive move from Braden Werner. Espinosa taking advantage of that to kind of slide by and snatch that one away from his teammate. So will Jean-Marc Tremblay return the favor and try and get aggressive on him to get the spot back? He can't this time down into turn 5. In fact, looked a little unstable.
Yeah, he certainly did. Very similar to, frankly, how Espinosa looked going through turns 1 and 2, just running a little bit wide at the corners there, but we continue to ride on board with Tremblay here, seeing him line up for this turn 8. This is such a deceptively tricky corner. You don't think it is when you're looking at it, but oh, it can catch you out if you're not careful. Now lines into the carousel. Now that's Aubrey ahead of them. That's going to be a big kerfluffle. That's going to slow down Espinosa. He's got to change his line ever so slightly.
Yeah, you can see it. Just not the best of exits for him, compromising things at the absolute worst moment for him. 2 minutes left to go, and Ferguson climbs the hill He'll get the white flag this time by. It's a 5-second gap down to Goodway. Goodway, though, had to fight his way forward. Remember, he qualified 4th. You have to wonder if maybe he could have cleared those other cars sooner. Could he have had a shot to chase down that 676?
He might have, but I've got to say that Lewis did put on a heck of a display for us here going down into turn 1 on that opening lap. And here is your 3rd place driver as we are on the white flag lap for all of them. Tyler Hervias drove a very, very good race, also caught up into some battles early.
That battle for the fastest lap, which is one of our bonus points, mind you, is so ridiculously close. Ferguson holds it with a 204.533. Lewis Goodway, 204.536.
Shows you just how tight the competition here is in the Precision Racing League. All of these guys putting on a wonderful show for us here today. And Joe, I got to tell you, we said this was going to be a good race, and it did not disappoint.
Oh no, it's disappointed Cortez. He's had a big wreck in that 16. And it looks like he's had to take it to pit lane. There it is right there, coming into the final corner. I'm guessing he caught the grass coming over Bill Mitchell Bend.
Yeah, let's take another look here. Gets through Canada corner, runs it just about perfectly, and here he comes up into Bill Mitchell. Yep, that's exactly what he did. Just carried a hair too much speed. In pretty much every car you can imagine, you've got to feather the car ever so slightly through there, even in an Indy car, and I don't think he did nearly enough of that, and that's what sent him off into the wall.
That takes us back to Ferguson, who exits Bill Mitchell Bend himself much cleaner and has one more turn to go. It took him a while to get that first victory, but now he's going to go back-to-back as Daniel Ferguson wins here in Wisconsin for round 6 of the PRL GT3 series.
Absolutely mega drive from Ferguson, and behind him, Lewis Goodway climbing up on that very aggressive first lap is going to take 2nd.
Hervias still gets himself a podium, but he's losing points to Ferguson. The battle for 6 is still on. That's Braden Werner, who's going to be scratching his head, wondering why he finished this far down after qualifying so well. But it'll be barely ahead of Espinoza and Tremblay, who follow him home within a second.
Yeah, this was a great battle throughout the entirety of the race, and very, very happy to see it come out the way that it did. Good, respectful racing from everybody.
17 cars finished on the lead lap, but not many battles behind them, unfortunately. In fact, our closest is still 2 seconds apart, it looks like, between Cochran and Alexander. As you see the rest of them come up through. How about Brian Vorse? 9th place in the end after qualifying in 12th, and certainly looked like he had fun along the way. So I believe we are going to head off to a little bit of a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Road America. Round 6 in the PRL GT3 series gave us one of the most incredible races we've seen. And Daniel Ferguson wound up winning it, his second victory of the season, coming back to back, with Lewis Goodway finishing second behind him. But you have to wonder, the 74 looked quick. He could have maybe challenged if he hadn't been held up early on. Tyler Hervias was third, even though he qualified on the front row, with Diego Morales finishing P4. Julio Palacio was fifth, and Braden Werner mysteriously dropped back early in the race, had to fight his way forward. He did end up sixth, but it's a question of what could have been. And then it's Andre Espinoza taking seventh today, Jean-Marc Tremblay finishing eighth, and Brian Vorse in ninth. Michael Davies in the thick of it all race long, getting a top 10.
In the 11th position was your highest placed AM driver, Matt Hilton, with Christopher Rines behind him in 12th. Neil Alexander was your second place AM driver in 13th, and rounding out that AM podium was Barry Cochran in 14th. Behind him was David Morse, Brian Hotham, and James LeBlond, with then Corey Ramsey and Gonzalo Cortez to round out the top 19, with Matthew Aubry in 20th.
21st went to Mike Richter, with David Menino in 22nd. Kwok Nin was a DNF in the end, and everybody back from there on down did not see the checkered flag, sadly. But we have Daniel Ferguson with us once again, taking his second win of the season. Daniel, it took you a while to finally get those wins down, but it looks like all it took was some familiarity with this spot on the podium.
Oh, can you hear me now? There we go.
Yep, we got you.
Yeah, it's a long time coming for the first win last week. And after a hardware failure at Lime Rock, it was good to come back strong. But I no longer have a drop round I can use.
It looked like you weren't phased too much, although you did have Hervias somewhat close for a bit of the race. Once he got passed by Goodway, he dropped off. From there, was it basically kind of all in your hands and you didn't really feel too stressed about the whole thing?
My main goal was to get it to 19 laps instead of the full 20. So I just decided to manage the race from there. And then once I knew we were at 19, I could push.
Interesting.
A shorter pit stop, it looked like.
Well, you timed that pretty much perfectly. I was watching the timer, and you had something about 5 seconds to spare, or else it would have been another lap. Well, the next race that you guys are going to be driving will be at Phillip Island, which will certainly be a different type of track to this one, with so many sweeping corners. Can you make it a three-peat?
Oh, I don't think I've ever set a lap at Phillips Island, so it'll be tough, but we'll give it our best shot.
It is a tough one, so definitely start practicing, but congratulations on your most recent win.
Thank you very much.
Daniel Ferguson taking the victory here in Wisconsin. Up next, DJ has caught up with our second place finisher, Lewis Goodway.
Well, Lewis, an absolutely stomp through the field to get up there into second, up 2 places, obviously qualifying in fourth, but talk me through that one.
Had a really good start. It was nice to make a couple of passes. I wish I qualified better, though.
Well, on that opening lap, it looked like you were in sort of full attack mode, just going side by side with Warner there. Was that the goal? I mean, were you just a little upset about qualifying and just wanted to put your car where you thought it belonged?
I guess so. I just saw a chance and I thought, I've got to have a go, haven't I?
I mean, I guess that's the way to look at it. So then once you got up through there, it looked like about, I would say, a third of the way through the race, you were able to get by Hervias, and it just kind of became a race of holding everything down. Didn't look like there were a whole lot of challenges for you. Was it just kind of, okay, keep all 4 tires on the tarmac from there on out?
Well, just before I passed Tyler, I almost crashed, and that was really scary. But after passing him, though, I thought I had the pace to catch Fergie, but then he just went up a level and drove away. So, yeah.
Well, I would say a second place is still nothing to shake a stick at. And Lewis, anybody you'd like to thank for that second spot on the podium here today?
Everyone at SimMSA. And I'd just like to congratulate Fergie for his win.
All right, thank you and congratulations again, Lewis. That was Lewis Goodway, your second place driver here today. Joe?
And that is going to wrap up our interviews for this evening. So we want to close out by thanking our sponsors, of course, Simulation Motorsports Affinity. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And, of course, NinjaTrader. To get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance, visit NinjaTrader.com. And finally, Butt Kicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her link is on the screen as well for more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com or check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Link is in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. The next race that we'll be covering will be at Okayama, May 17th at 9 p.m. Eastern. But in a week's time, the drivers will head off to Phillip Island for round 7. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including, in just a few moments, the Porsche Owners Club will be at Circuit of the Americas. That kicks off at 10:45 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.